It sounded like a legitimate government procurement deal. Official-looking documents, a sophisticated foreign technology supplier, and a request for equipment so sensitive that ordinary private buyers could never legally obtain it. But beneath the paperwork, the Mdlanga Commission heard evidence of something far more sinister. An alleged attempt by people linked to the so-called Big Five organized crime network to acquire highly restricted cellular surveillance technology by making the supplier believe the South African state was the customer. At the center of the evidence was the late taxi boss, Jotham Maswazi, MCB, whom evidence before the commission has linked to the alleged Big Five network. WhatsApp communications extracted from phones became a digital trail into the operation. The alleged players included MSIB, murder-accused Katiso KT Mulf, businessman Stephen Maltsumi, and suspended SAPS Sergeant Fanny Nkosi. The critical ingredient was not money, it was credibility. According to the evidence presented by advocate Matthew Chaskelson SC and other evidence leaders, Nkosi allegedly used his position and official SAPS markings in connection with procurement documentation. The alleged purpose was to create the appearance that the South African Police Service was seeking the equipment. That mattered because the technology was not an ordinary surveillance product. A grabber or IMSA catcher can identify and interact with mobile devices within its operating area and, depending on the system's capabilities, facilitate interception, tracking, and collection of communications-related information. Such technology carries obvious national security implications, and that is where the alleged deception became more dangerous. The supplier and Czech authorities were allegedly led to believe that the equipment was being acquired for a South African government purpose. But the WhatsApp trail presented to the commission allegedly pointed somewhere else. Eswatini. The alleged plan was not simply to obtain the technology, it was to move it on. A government procurement channel could potentially unlock equipment that private criminals could never openly purchase. Police credentials could provide the appearance of legitimacy, and once the technology entered the network's possession, the alleged destination was no longer the SAPS. It was a foreign state. That transforms the story from ordinary criminal procurement into something resembling an intelligence operation, a shadow marketplace in which police identity, ORGANISED, crime and restricted surveillance technology, allegedly intersected. The most disturbing question is therefore not merely who wanted the equipment, it is, what did they intend to do with it? If a sophisticated interception platform had reached a criminal network, the consequences could have extended far beyond one investigation. Phones could potentially be tracked. Communications could potentially be intercepted. People could potentially be identified and monitored without knowing that their devices had become targets. The Commission's wider evidence concerning Nkosi has already raised questions about the alleged movement of confidential SAPS information outside official channels. Reporting on his testimony described WhatsApp communications and documents allegedly shared with people outside the police, including sensitive investigative material. The Commission has also heard evidence portraying Nkosi as an alleged intermediary between SAPS figures and people linked to the Big Five network. While his own explanations and recollections have been subjected to intense scrutiny. But the Spidevice allegation introduces another layer. Because this time, the alleged commodity was not information. It was the ability to obtain information. That distinction is enormous. The alleged operation appears, from the evidence presented, to have relied on a simple but powerful deception. Make the criminal buyer look like the state. The paperwork would speak first. The police insignia would speak second, and the technology would do the rest. Yet the digital trail became the weakness. WhatsApp messages, extracted from phones, began connecting people, intentions, and transactions. What might have appeared on paper as a legitimate government procurement process was placed under the forensic light of the Commission. The alleged salesman had tried to hide behind the credibility of the state. Instead, the evidence exposed the possibility that the state's identity itself had become the product being sold. These are allegations and evidence being tested before a commission of inquiry, not criminal convictions. The commission does not itself determine guilt, and the people implicated retain their legal rights and the presumption of innocence. But the question left hanging over the operation is chilling. If the alleged buyers could impersonate the state to obtain the tools of surveillance, who were they ultimately planning to watch? And more importantly, who would have been watching them?